Now I'm really getting fed up with this guy. There are new problems for Boris Johnson now. The investigation into parties in the British Prime Minister's office should now also include alleged gatherings in his private home. And he faces a vote of no confidence. In the clarification of the so-called Partygate affair about celebrations during the lockdown in Downing Street, gatherings in Boris Johnson's own home are also to be investigated. More work meetings? Government officials sue Gray's investigation, which is eagerly awaited in London, will also include alleged parties at the Prime Minister's home at 11 Downing Street, The Times reported on Sunday, citing inside sources. Close friends of Johnson's wife Carrie are said to have been guests more often during lockdown times, officially for work reasons. My ass. According to the report, however, there are doubts about this representation because the friends mentioned did not work directly for Downing Street, but for the attached cabinet office. Johnson's ex-advisor Dominic Cummings, who's now one of his harshest critics, had previously raised the accusation that unauthorized parties had also taken place in Johnson's own apartment, not just in the office. After the pressure on Boris Johnson has increased in recent weeks due, to a number of revelations, he is threatened with a vote of no confidence. Some Conservative MPs have already publicly called for the PM's resignation. Others want to await the results of the official investigation, the internal one though. The woman who holds the fate of Boris Johnson in her hands has achieved some notoriety in the UK. "We are waiting for Sue Gray" has almost become a dictum, so often has the government put off questioning journalists with this phrase. The civil servant is investigating around a dozen government parties that took place during the corona lockdowns in May and winter 2020 and April 2021, and obviously now private ones too. She is presenting her report this week. Depending on how critical she is, she could herald the end of Premier Johnson. Gray spoke to party attendees and evaluated emails and WhatsApp messages. It's about what happened and whether corona rules and the ministerial code were violated. But now Dominic Raab has declined to confirm that Sue Gray's account of alleged Downing Street parties will be released in full this week, saying the amount of detail released publicly was a matter for Boris Johnson. So let the perpetrator decide what will be there. Yeah. Justice Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Raab, who appears to have scaled back the government's openness about the report, promised full transparency but declined to give details. And when he was asked if the public would be able to see it in full, Raab told BBC One's Sunday morning broadcast, "The Prime Minister has to decide on the process, but there will be full transparency. He has said he will come back to the House of Commons and make a statement so that there will be a full review." Yeah, definitely, if he can choose. Yeah. When asked if that would mean it would be released in full, Raab said, "I'm not exactly sure what form it will come in, but the Prime Minister has made it clear that this will be fully transparent so people can see it. We welcome this transparency. We have to learn from it." Well, Johnson transparency, what that means we all know, and I hope it won't be that one again. The revelations are so threatening for Johnson because they show that the corona rules that this government itself had set were being broken right in front of him. And in the past few weeks, the Prime Minister's defense has proven to be untenable several times. While he initially said that to his knowledge there had been no gatherings where rules had been broken, it was later said that no one had told him that rules had been broken. So he doesn't even know what rules he's making. In addition, Johnson had repeatedly pointed out that one had to wait for Gray's report before allowing oneself to judge. However, this could be extremely uncomfortable for Johnson if it's published in full. If not, he can do whatever he wants again. Gray is considered meticulous and tough on the matter. Violations of corona rules are unlikely to be considered trivial offences. And because of the number of revelations in the Partygate affair, Johnson is also under immense pressure within the party. He is threatened with a vote of no confidence. And as I said, some Conservative MPs have already publicly called for the PM's resignation. And some others, we will wait for Sue Gray's report. Johnson himself has so far avoided questions about the consequences of the report. Last Wednesday, he had shown himself combative at a question time in Parliament. At the same time, he announced extensive easing of the corona rules as a smokescreen. And not only me, but some observers saw this as an attempt to distract from the affair. So far, however, the Tories' opposition to Johnson has not been strong enough to warrant a vote of no confidence. An attempt by a group of Tory MPs to initiate a vote, dubbed the pork pie plot, failed for the time being. So far, the hurdle of 54 supporters has not been reached. So many Conservative MPs would have to distance themselves by letters from Johnson to bring about a vote of no confidence. Nevertheless, more and more Tories are opposing their party leader. A Tory MP has accused Johnson's government of blackmail tactics and wants to speak to the police about it, and probably today when I'm filming this. Conservative members of parliament who are suspected of disobeying the Prime Minister have been threatened by government officials with publishing compromising material in the press. The allegation is, at least. They were also said to have been threatened that the government would withhold financial aid for their constituencies. And that I would consider a crime, definitely not only the threat, but doing that. Scottish pro-independence supporters have demonstrated in Glasgow against Prime Minister Boris Johnson, demanding he resigns over Partygate. And there are increasing reports in the media about parties at the Downing Street official residence during the lockdowns. And not to forget what we often talked about, the booze culture that is apparently common there. And the Welsh First Minister Marc sees the announced end of all corona measures in England as nothing more than a diversionary manoeuvre from the scandal surrounding lockdown parties in the London seat of government. It was not a carefully thought out plan, just an attempt by British ministers to find a different headline than the one that dominated the news, he said. The government in London is paralyzed by the scandal because everything is geared towards ensuring Prime Minister Johnson's political survival at the moment. Johnson, who has come under heavy pressure because of those alleged lockdown parties in Downing Street, I'm waiting for the moment where they're not alleged anymore, and he had announced an end to all measures for most of England in the coming week, so this week. In Wales, the approach is far more cautious. In the UK, each of the 4 regions is self-sufficient for the health policy, and thus also the corona measures and everything else around it. Easing was also recently announced in Scotland and Northern Ireland, but various measures remain in place there. And by the way, something else, if you have not visited my new book reviews channel, Bookstagram, you might consider it, because word about it is obviously spreading a little bit now for a new channel. And there are some very interesting books you might not have heard about. So have a look and enjoy. People on Twitter are already sharing it. The link is here on the end screen and in the description under this video. And I'll see you over there. Bis gleich.